Okay, so this is an interesting scenario, an interesting episode of the podcast. I have an amazing guest here today. I don't say this because she's my mom. She's such an amazing, phenomenal, inspirational person. Um, in the person of my mom, um, she will introduce herself anyway. So I have my mom here today. And my mom has been one of the most inspirational people to me in terms of her drive, her tenacity, her heart, just the kind of person that she is. And I thought it was really important to sit down and have a conversation with her, about her journey. So yeah, handing it over to my mom. So mom, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. As you know, Adekemi Felicia Opatunde, Mrs., a mother of 4, and I'm married to Engineer Olubinge Opatunde, the Ibadan man, as we popularly call him, Baba Ibadan, an extremely gentleman. And I'm very passionate about life, about family, about people. So I'm glad that I'm sitting, just being introduced by my own daughter, witnessing her podcast. There's no other achievement beyond witnessing your own child, thriving, and then just toiling the path of greatness that you've always aspired your own child to toil. Yeah, it's an interesting session, and I cannot wait to begin to respond to your questions, which, anyway.
So you missed in your introduction, you missed talking about what you do first of all, as a fish farmer and also as a PhD student that you currently are.
Because you didn't ask me to do that, and I didn't want to start jumping.
Introduce yourself now.
Okay.
That's part of you.
Okay, let me start with, I'm a fish farmer. Actually, I was trained from the beginning of my life as a teacher, and I started the education career from grade 2 teacher, NCE, my BA, master's, and interestingly, in few months, I should be graduating as a PhD holder, when no one will now call me Mrs. But if you refuse to put that DR, I'll correct you instantly. Going into fish farming isn't what I wanted, but as I said, I'm a woman of faith. I believe if we walk with God, then you must learn to listen to God, and then you must always learn to obey. Yeah, it was an instruction when I was back in the UK, and all I wanted to do was to have a Montessori school. And God, in his own will and in the way he does things, says, you will go back and be a fish farmer. And that was very difficult. But today, I'm glad doing what the Lord asked me to do. And I'm also happy because I feel there's no time that is ever too late to just accomplish or to fulfill what your desire has always been. I've always wanted at least to have a PhD because I'm from a home, my father's house. If you didn't go to school, at least you had a master's degree. And at the time, I was just seeing myself as the one that is just not having that. If you are a professor in my father's house, it's one of those things. Nobody says, so if you don't. So I started thinking, why not? I can always go back. There's no time limit. Nobody stops you. I'm not going to sit on top of anybody in the classroom. So why don't you just get all this, your smart guns, and go back to the classroom? And in the last 13 years, I've always been in school.
Yeah, I think that I want to talk about that 13 years journey, right? I think it was 13 years ago when you decided to first go and do you went back to do like WAEC, or was it WAEC or NECO? I don't even know which one you went to do.
Anyway.
Because I remember that then Emmanuel's my younger brother, he was also writing his GC at the same time, and my mom went to write her GC because she wanted to go back to school to get your BA in English. So what informed, I know that your background played a part in that decision, but to have gone back at that time, I think you must have been 50.
Yes, I was a little bit over 50.
Yeah.
And
then you went to do your work.
I went to do the GC, the November GC. What informed that was I've always wanted to do my BA, even while you were younger and your siblings. But then we were in the northern part of Nigeria, and, family call, domestic issues, having to stretch to ensure things. I couldn't just until that time. And I just felt, so I went to one of the premier university, and it's like, oh, you had your grade 2 teacher certificate in 1980, 81. Oh, that will not allow you to have a straight degree with your NCE because there is a policy. So what's the option? Oh, madam, the only option is if you can go back to the classroom or you have your GC. And I went back home, and it's like, because I see a lot of people today, you just read about great people and they are brought down because they have certificate forgery. And it's like, why do I have to forge? Why do I have to lie? Why can't I just take the part of humility and humble myself and go back to the classroom? So I didn't tell either of you. I only told my husband because I know I will always have his support. And I went and took the GCE form, got all my son. And that time, I will never sleep because I will always be on top of my son. And coincidentally, I also have a young girl that was brought to my house to be a domestic staff. You can't live in my house if you don't go to school. The first day I met the girl, I said, yes, you are here to work, but I'm going to change that attitude. You will either be here to go to school, and then you combine that with we work together. You must go to school. So I will drop Emmanuel, drop that young girl, and then I will go to my own school. I remember the first day I went to the school for my GCE, all the teachers were running up and down to think that one of the invigilators are around. And I said, because the previous day I've already, asked someone to go search for my seat, the room and everything. I just went straight to the desk, and they just came to me, and I said, no, I'm one of the students. I'm here to write my exam. It's like, do you know, after that, a few of them came to me and said, mommy, this is funny. Because a lot of people would want to do that, and they felt it's a strange thing to do. So when some of the teachers saw me that day, they saw the need for them to actually rethink. And I've been able to have a lot of disciples in my university who felt younger people than my age who have now, gone back to school to say, oh, it's a good thing, it's fun. I have a lot of younger friends, some of them younger than my children, and they're my friends in the classroom. And we had fun together. And when they saw that, this woman, if you don't really put up, you cannot just even match up with her, because anything book, I give it my best shot. And I thank God today, I had my BA. I wasn't satisfied with that. I went forward and I had my master's. I had a very strong 2-1 in my BA. Same thing.
Your master's.
Yeah, one of the best graduating students for my master's. And now doing my PhD.
Like you didn't stop for one day. I think immediately you finished the BA.
Since that day, I've never stopped. I've always been in the classroom till this morning.
Yeah. I think it was really, really brave what you did, and very, very inspirational, I must say. And, I think when we started the journey, we were all like, what exactly are you looking for?
Yeah, but let me tell you one story that briefly what will inspire that. My mom, you may not hear this story, but let me just give it to you because you are having this. And I think whatever has happened to people is not just about you, it's for other people there who will learn. I was born by a very, very gentle, extremely gentle. You have a very, very gentle grandmother that I believe, like a child, went through an abuse. Because when you do not allow a child to possess one of the fundamental rights that a child, like education, it's an abuse. Of course, my mother went into the family. Someone, in fact, her teacher, when she was in standard 4, put my mom in the family way when she was in standard 4. And the father felt, oh, this is the greatest disappointment a child could give. The man was taken to court. The man was supposed to be jailed or to be, But a day before the judgment, my mother was called upon, and my mom said, oh, he didn't rape me. I gave him my consent. That day, my maternal grandpa, lost that case. And then my maternal grandpa took a decision. Then you will stay at home. That was the end of my mom's education. She wanted to be a nurse or to study medicine. All her sisters, the elderly one graduated as a matron at USAGE. The next one, ended up being a head teacher. She just stopped at standard 4 as a punishment or a deterrent for her action. And then she didn't go back to school. And I felt I should do better than my mom. And so when I realized that I was stuck at NCE, I just felt this is another circle. I shouldn't just keep telling the story of how I failed, but I can tell a story of how from my failure I've climbed or gone into the place of good success. So such things informed the need for me to go back to the classroom to say, I can do this.
Yeah. And I think there was one interesting story. I'm not sure if I remember the story correctly about how you wanted to study law and then one priest or something. Tell us about that story.
It's funny that you don't even forget things. When I finished my school cert, I've always wanted to study law. I felt I could be a good lawyer. And I have a very lovely auntie, one of my favorite auntie. Then we were living at Akoka as a young girl. And then you know how people believe in soothsaying, how they believe, before you do anything. So that's my auntie goes, asking for such things. And one of the occasions I went with her, and this cleric just said, don't dare you go into law. If you go into law, you will be a charge and bail lawyer. You will be a better teacher. And that was what changed my plan from studying law to going into education. You know what? At the end of the day, I will say all glory be to God.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But I believe that if I've studied law, maybe who knows, I would have been another version of Femi Falana or of these strong women who be able to stand for people.
Even without studying law, you are a force to reckon with in that sense of activism and advocacy. Yeah. One of the things that you did in the past was this whole government advocacy and trying to change how governance is being done in Nigeria.
Yeah. I've always believed that governance is a way where every person can identify with the freedom that you are born with. One of the fundamental rights of every human is that you are born free, at liberty, to have education, to have security, to have good life, to have education, to not be enslaved in your mind, in your spirit, spiritually, materially, socially, mentally, that you be at liberty. But I realized that growing up, I cannot say that is what is thriving in Nigeria. And so I felt, okay, I gave that shot to my master's program. And right now, for my PhD, I'm doing something that also has to do with, that we speak to people's consciousness, people's mind, that education is one key. When you give that key to a child from childhood, that's one thing my mom gave me. That's one thing I saw in my mom, that is a key that opens difficult doors. That is a light when you get into a dark room, when you have it, you are illuminated. It's like everything is sour, everything is bitter. You don't know how to relate with people. That is one thing that you have that sees you, that positions you to see human beings the way God wants us to see ourselves. Respect people, love people, be kind to people, irrespective of their social background, their religion. And that is one thing that is missing in our world. People just see you, they look at you, they size you down. Do you have money? Do you have class? What's your religion? Those are things we do. We think we help God. And for me, it's, in my own opinion, makes people little than who they should be. When you just look at people and you relegate them in terms of their religion, in terms of their gender, or in terms of whether they are rich or not rich. And then I can see that we live in a society where the things we place value upon is just the things we can quantify, the things we can see, like money, no. education gives you the total being, the total person, the total human being to socialize, to place your own part, no matter how little in national development, to make you relevant and to allow other people to be as relevant as yourself. Don't put people down. And you know that when growing up, each time we have a help or a domestic staff, you know how I call all of you and I say, we have an addition in this family. This person is here not because the mother chooses to throw her out. That is where faith found them. But in this house, please join me to allow this girl or this boy to have love, to have life that she or he cannot have. And I want to encourage people listening to me. When you have a girl or a boy in your house to do whatever you have brought that child to do, just begin to think as an opportunity to stretch your hand to God, to give God water to drink, to give God a balanced life, to eat on your table, to sleep on a good bed, to feel good, to say, yes, I have a bath that is diminishing by faith, not by choice. But now here I am in another home where I can have education. I can have what belongs to me. You have your cutlery, you have your bedroom, you have everything, even though you are not in your parents' house. You can beat your chest to say, this is mine. And then you relate with other people and you can smile and nobody will discriminate against you and say, you are from one village. I think the world will be a better place if we all live that way. Yeah.
If we all choose kindness and, just we are kind to everybody, regardless of who they are, what their backgrounds are.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One of the key things, that has happened, that I think, in my opinion, sort of shaped you. I don't know whether I'll say shaped you, Sha, but like one of the key things that you've had to do was when you had to go to the UK for a couple of years, and which was formed by a family disaster that we had. So what year was this now? Maybe 2005?
2002. Okay. We've had a project starting 1992. We got married in 1990, and from 1991 we started a project. Immediately we married. I started my career. I didn't work too long in the teaching profession. It wasn't okay for me because I had a target. I wanted to raise children. I wanted my children to go to one of the best schools. And so I started with banking, and even the bank salary wasn't too okay for me. Your dad started, immediately he returned from France. He had his NYSC, started with the federal defense industry. And you know what the federal salary was, but we've always joined things together. We've always breathed together. We've always had, money was never an issue.
Unity.
You grew up seeing that. And then we started building a structure. And because we relied solely on everything we had, because I had a parent who believed in, who were disciplined and who believed that you can attain anything by being disciplined. You don't have to cut corners. We never cut corners. And we are not going to cut corners. I always tell people, I walk on the narrow path, and that is the way I'm going to die. I will be a proud mother to die on the narrow path. But alas, in the year 2002, that was the year we were actually supposed to move into that house, June 24. Somebody just came and announced that there was a disaster, there was a collapse in the building. June was a month that rain will fall and fall and fall. And I think for that, whatever reason, the house collapsed. 4-bedroom flat and a duplex. Everything that we worked for
10 years.
For 10 years collapsed on the 24th of June, 2002. And then on that particular day, we were owing the woman giving us the cement 7,000 naira. We went to the bank. I think everything we had was less than 10,000. We quickly paid the woman. We didn't want to owe anyone. And we felt the most important thing for us was not just to have food on the table. and to have enough to buy fuel and take you to school and your younger ones. And yes, we were lucky to have my mom around, who was always supportive, you know. When the decision, I call those period my dark moments, the dark moments of my life.
I think before you go into those moments, I remember about that day. So maybe I was about 12 or so. Was we had gone to the house the day before, right? Yeah. So we were in that house the day before it collapsed. All of us were there. We were selecting our rooms, and Dad was saying, "This is where your room will be. This is where your room will be." And then the following day, somebody had called my dad to say the house had collapsed, right? And it didn't make sense because the way the house was, once we get to Challenge in Ibadan, you would already be seeing the house from afar. So it was it was a tall building.
Very tall.
So as we were passing, my dad was like, Shoman Gbele Loni, which in English is like, do they uproot houses, right? Because we could not see the house. And I remember we got there and there were people crying, and the first question that my dad asked was, hope there was no casualty. I think it happened overnight, right? Yeah. And we got back home, and it was just like, when Yoruba says of share, right? Because there were a lot of people there coming to console, and it was just like a movie, even for me at my young age. So
yeah.
You are saying that you think about that as one of the darkest
yes. The day you guys went to the house on the 23rd of June, the purpose was to make sure the place was clean for the finishing. Yeah. Up to today, from that moment, the water in that house is what people drink in that neighborhood from 1993. So when you guys went, by 7 o'clock, I was really upset on the 23rd when I just looked left, right, and I didn't see you guys. It was supposed to be a fellowship day. I didn't see you and Dad. And then you guys came late when the message was almost ending, and I said to them, where have you been? And he said, you went to the site. I said, that's not a good thing to do. Why would you choose the Bible study time to take the kids? And then you guys, when we got home, you were so excited telling me, oh, I saw my room, I saw Emmanuel's room. And you guys you were just telling me where your rooms will be, how it will be, how we will move out of the rental apartment, and each of you will have. And it was a whole of excitement. And then in the morning, I had gone 2 hours before, I had gone into an hospital, a private hospital, to stay with a lady that was in a hard labor. And then I rushed home around 7 o'clock, and my mom was, that she needed to see me. And I said, no, I'm here to pick a flask of water for somebody. I'm not going to listen to anything until. And then, good enough, the lady delivered. So, and I came home, and it was like every face in the house was like. And then my husband said, there is a problem. I said, where are my children? He said, they are in school. I said, thanks be to God. What is the problem? He said, our house. I said, what about it? He said, the house collapsed. I said, house collapsed. Then I started looking for the key. He said, no, you are not going to see it. I said, why? Have you been there? He said, yes. And then you are back. He said, yes. I said, so why shouldn't I go there? He said, oh, no, you won't be able to manage it. I just picked the key. When I got there, actually, it's like, I said 4-story building and a duplex. It was a big project, a huge project for 10 years. It's like it's like a bomb that the project was bombed. You couldn't even see the foundation. Everything was just rubbles. Like somebody came like mashed an ice cream. Everything was just, and I was looking for the site. I saw the neighborhood compound. I saw the people. But let me confess to you, one thing that happened that day, that each time I just remember, even if anybody is saying there is no God, I will die to defend that there is God. You know, something like, I don't know what happened, just raised my 2 hands up. And then I was smiling. And one of these songs that I knew when I was in primary school, Awanyin Ọlọ́run wa, àwa ń jẹ́wọ́ rẹ pé ìwọ ni Olúwa, gbogbo ayé ń forí balẹ̀ fún ọ. And I started singing that song and I was smiling. And the crowd came to me. One of the Alhajis came, and a very nice man, and an elderly man that was always looking after our project said, Imani Nilagbarao. I said, what's Imani? He said, when your husband came earlier, your husband came and prayed like a few minutes. And then you are here now, you are singing. I said, what shall I do? Baba, I can doubt people, but I can't doubt God. God told my husband and I that we would build a house and then we would live in our house. That cannot change. Yes, this building has collapsed, but I still believe God more than what I'm seeing today. And we left. And so back to your question, when the decision to travel came, it was a hard thing. One of the hardest things that has come my way, because harder than the destruction or the collapse, because I didn't have anything it takes to take up that journey. I knew it was going to be difficult. I knew I wasn't going to cut corners. I knew it's going to be hard in terms of compromise. And so when I got there, it was very, very hard. Very hard because I stayed doing nothing. Because everything I went to a place that has structure. They have policy, and you have to follow the policy. Yes, there are people that have gone there, they've done things, they've achieved a lot. And I was not ready for one day to do what other people do. I've always lived in the faith of others may do it, I must not. That was a setback. And each time I went out, I tell people, I'm here because I came from a place of disaster, and I wanted to tell my children there's a possibility of telling another story. And I was lucky to have a particular place who said, okay, if you are comfortable with this offer, we'll give you shelter. To every other person around me, it's like, don't be stupid. Don't allow that. That's a mega thing. And you know what? I waited. I accepted that. Yeah. I took to that. And it was in the process that I thought, okay, after this, I may go to school. I may go and study education, Montessori education, and then I can come back. But in the process, within 3.5 years, the dark moment turned into a moment of a walk. It was a moment of a walk with God. Yeah. And in those years of walking with God, obeying God, toiling to his direction, we are where we are today. Yeah. There is a big smile every day. Yes, everything was in moderation, in simplicity. And I think for me, that is the best that life has offered. And I'm glad to have that. Yeah. So we have I think it's ended up being a huge testimony, from that house to then many years after, of course, taking a lot of effort and work, you having to struggle and hustle, and daddy same as well, and then you both built a nicer house than the one of course, not even the house, even the location.
I know that now when we pass that place, you are like, is this where we would have been living?
You see, when Yorubas we say ile oba tojo ewa lubusi, I remember one day my brother said, she slum to ba ma buru mi wagbere, thank God that building collapsed. Because when you bought a property in 1990 December for 25,000 naira, and then in 2003 you now got a property for 1.1 million. I mean, if you are a mathematician and then you put that beside the property, it's not the same.
Yeah.
So and that's
I think that just goes to encourage people that regardless of how dark times might seem, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Just don't give up.
Because I remember that same day that our building collapsed, there are 3 other buildings that collapsed in Ibadan that same day. If anybody is familiar with Ibadan, there is a hall. There's an event center around Malete roundabout. I'm not going to mention it because I'm not sure whether you are allowed to do that. Around Malete, not too far from the bridge. It's just between the bridge and Challenge. There's a hall there. The building at that place also collapsed, and then the people ended up using the place for an event center, a beautiful event center. And do you know that the third family who experienced the same thing, the husband died 6 months after the collapse, and the wife also died less than 2 years after the husband died. Honestly.
It's a very tough experience to go through. I don't think anybody can understand how difficult that can be.
Especially for us in the year 2003 when that building collapsed. We had a project and we made close to like 6 million. And then we put in a chunk of the money into the project just to move in the year 2002 December. And then we put a chunk of the money, part of the money also into our business. And my husband and I agreed on that day to say, the most difficult thing for us that day was to manage the emotion of people coming to visit us, to, sympathize. And then the way people will come and they cry. And we said, you know what, we will be strong for one another. But the following day, I just woke up. Something just woke me up. And I saw my husband standing by the wardrobe. And he was sobbing. And I said, well, we agreed yesterday to say we are not going to cry. And I asked him, I said, why are you sobbing? Why are you doing this? He said, he just remembered that if anybody asked him, oh, you studied in France for 6 years, and then 15 years you are back in Nigeria, what can you show for those years? And then he said, the answer will be, I saw the collapse yesterday, everything in the dust. He said, that was why I said, then you've betrayed me. You've betrayed me. Between yesterday and now, you've betrayed me. We agreed we are not going to cry. I said, I'm not going to cry. I said, I feel like crying, but I'm not going to cry. Because when I cry, I'm just saying to myself, you are down. But I'm not down. And then we hugged each other. And I said, we have to keep getting stronger and holding each other. We will get over it. And I think when people hold each other's hand, in all honesty, you can always overcome challenges of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing
You're
and being
welcome.
very vulnerable. I mean, it's always such an emotional story every time I think about it. But yeah. So sending a lot of strength to anybody who is going through any low moment now, and I hope that this encourages that there's always light at the end of the tunnel, regardless of what you're going through. So now I want to move to a fun subject. I don't know if it's really fun, Shab, but it's also something that you're really, really passionate about, and something that I used to be passionate about in the past, but I'm right now very not so interested, and that's politics.
Oh, gosh.
That's politics.
Oh, Nifemi.
I mean, I used to be, I for a long time, and I think that I still believe that politics can be transferred by blood. Because I don't know where I inherited my energy and aluta. I mean, you know that I even contested for election when I was in university. Like, I've always been very politically aware. I mean, now on Nigeria politics, I'm just very not interested. But you have always been a huge, how do I put it now? You've been very politically active for a very long time. What was your, I kind of know the story, but I want you to tell us your introduction into politics and what that journey has been for you.
Oh, gosh. When you said fun and then you are talking about passion, I was wondering what topic are you actually bringing to bear? My journey into politics, let me give that to my father, because I had a very, very quiet, very extremely quiet mother, very godly, praying woman, but a very tough father. In my father, you see a cocoa produce buyer, a transporter. Growing up, I remember my dad's transport business was Owo Legbon, Omolaburu, and also a cocoa produce buyer. but beyond that, a great politician. Growing up, I was born to witness the days when politics is service, and that's the truth. When politics is to go there and help your people. When politics is to go there and bring to your people what they needed to have and they didn't have. And so I was about 18 in the late 70s, the last election that Papa Awolowo had. And he came to our area in Akoka. Guess what? I just jumped out, left my mom's restaurant. My mother was a caterer at University of Lagos Road. I just gathered a few girls and boys my age, and we just started singing in the group of Papa Awolowo who came for rally. And every one of us, we would just be singing because the man was always talking about education. And from childhood, I love education. And then we'll be singing free education. And so they just got I'm serious, they just got a big bus for all of us. So wherever Papa drops to address people, all of us will just go. All of us will be singing, and it was so exciting. Guess what? When I got home that day, it was a Waterloo for me. Because I didn't tell my mom, and it was dark at night. And many mothers were looking for their children. And then when we got back home, and then I said to my mom, we followed Papa Awolowo. And my mom, and I was actually going to a very expensive school, my secondary school, you know. I had a very, very struggling mother who felt, yes, whatever it will take.
To give you the best education.
And then so I just opened my big mouth to say to my mom, I followed Awolowo because Papa was saying to everybody that he will give the best education. And my mom said, okay, Awolowo lo ma sanwó iléèwé. Nin tamu yi Awolowo lo ma sanwó iléèwé. So I didn't know. And you know how God can do things. I didn't know that my mom kept a very long cane. That's my mom's style. When you misbehave, she will wake you up. And I don't think that's the right way to discipline a child. And then, so you will always be at alert to choose whether to misbehave or to behave right. But you know what? How it happened, I can't say it tomorrow. As my mom was getting prepared, bringing out the cane in my sleep, I'm telling you the truth. I started singing in my sleep, free education, Awolowo Loleshe. And my mom's hand was hanging, and I woke up. And then I saw the cane. I said, and I was almost fainting. And then she sat me down. She said, you are singing. I said, Joy Shamini, please don't beat me, please. I was shaking. And then, you know, and then my mom asked me, what should I do for you? I said, please just pardon me. Just forgive me this once. I won't do it again. So from there, nobody taught me, nobody told me, nobody showed me that I think it is human, I think it is civic, I think it is right for every human being to be politically aware. If you are there and you think, oh, you are a saint, you are an angel, you know what, I don't want to associate with these people. Yes, you don't want to associate with these people. A fool will end up being the one to dictate your life, how your medical situation will be, how your education will be, how your roads will be, the kind of food and water you drink, whether you will have access to potable water or not, how your future will be, how you will sleep on your pillow, whether you will keep on opening your eyes or insecurity will be the order of the day. Whether you like it or not, if you do not participate politically. And let me tell you, something happened in this country and I felt, oh, the redemption has come. I've always felt that the younger generation has what it takes to build a better nation, to have emancipation, to have freedom. Because what every human being should know is that you are born free, with a conscience, with a liberty to choose which party, with a conscience to do what is right without being bought, without being coerced, without being forced into any political association. That everybody is born to say, yes, I'm awake this morning. This is the party I want to be. This is the person I want to follow. That should be the right of every human being. And that is the way I raised you. Yeah. You know, sometimes we would argue, you will say, Mom, I'm going for this gubernatorial candidate and I'm going for this presidential, and I've never once argued with you. That's the way I was raised up by my father. And that's the way every parent should raise their children, to be free to choose, to understand. But I see a world where everything is on sale, including people's conscience. That is one thing we must not sell. That is one thing this generation must not put up to sell, your conscience. That's one thing you sleep with, you wake up with. That's one thing that has helped me in life to shape in hard times. Things are very hard. I must give that to Nigerians. Nigerians, when I look at this youth doing what they are doing, I feel proud of them. You don't need to have this 10 digits behind your name to be respected. I respect you. There is dignity in labor. You carry yourself with dignity with this job you are doing. You have a conscience. But when it comes to politics, I see people selling their conscience in the name of the highest currency in the world. And I always say to people, the entire treasury of the world, and I mean it, there is no money in the entire treasury of the world that is sufficient to buy my conscience. I will always choose according to my conscience, because we need to build a nation. We all love to go on vacation. We want to go on the Bahamas. We want to go to California. We want to go to the UK. But it's a nation that is built. People who built those nations didn't sell their consciences. They stood for what is right, upholding what is right, so that they can sustain what is right. And we can do it in Nigeria. Nigerians are very intelligent. We have everything it takes to build the best nation in the world. Nigeria is one nation that is unique, that is special, beyond any nation in the world. I put my hand on my chest and I can beat my chest for Nigeria. I love Nigeria with passion. There is no nation in the world that is like Nigeria. But there is a missing link. There is a big vacuum, and that is called leadership. We all need to be politically aware, informed, to build Nigeria politically. And that is why if you give a child, education is that thing that informed a person to be politically, socially, mentally, economically viable, sound, informed, to be able to build a politically balanced world. If you deny, and guess what? From February, ASU has been on strike indefinitely. Who knows when ASU will be back? And I think there must be a place for parents to begin to engage the government and ASU. I think we have gotten to that level. We shouldn't say, oh, all my kids have graduated. They are not in Nigeria. And then we fold our arms. If we do, we are all sitting on an explosive that is about to explode. Yeah. If we deny people education, I mean functional education that allows you to play your parts effectively, if we deny people, whether deliberately or accidentally, for whatever reason, I think we will be far from where we think we want to go. But I want to witness, I want my own generation to have a witness of this Nigeria that people are clamoring for, the one that we witnessed during NSAS, that I felt that, oh, look at these guys, I think they have what it takes, but those generations, they didn't know when to stop. Honestly, I thought we were going to have it at that time because they started well. And I said, oh God, just keep them. Oh God, let them just come forward with intelligent arguments, logical. And then at the end of the day, they will engage on the table and then they will be able to bring forth something new. But you know what? How it was hijacked, how it went down, how everything ended up the way it ended, I can't say. That was very sad. It was a sad moment for me because that's what I love. I believe people should come and, intelligently to air their opinion to say, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, and then we can have it this way, this way. But I didn't see that,
So
coming
I think
at the end of the day.
it started as like a symbol of hope. It was definitely, a lot of us had hope. Even me, myself, I had a lot of hope. And after everything just collapsed, I think that's where my whole enthusiasm started to drop about the whole landscape. Unfortunately. It was just an unfortunate incident. So you have personal experience, of course, but you've talked a lot about how passionate you are about Nigeria and the political landscape, but you have been on the arena, you have put yourself out there, you say a lot of how people should put themselves out there, people need to be politically aware, but I have seen firsthand that it's not that straightforward, right? I've seen firsthand that good people a lot of the times are not given the chance, or people who have who have good intentions are not given the right chance. And I wanted you to, sort of speak a bit about your own experience and what you think needs to change in terms of how the political landscape in Nigeria is run.
Yeah, I told you how from my childhood I've always loved Papa Awolowo. So I've always been of the progressive family, but I also respect the opposition. That is one thing that everybody should do. You are in a party, you should respect opposition. And then I felt no matter who, I also believe in party supremacy. I believe no individual is bigger than your party. But however, the party must obey the manifesto of their party. They should be sincere to the manifesto. Nobody should just wake up one day and feel, we just do it the way we want. No, when you do it the way you want, you cannot have it. The equation cannot balance. We should always look towards balancing the equation. So I've always followed, worked, participated in rallies, in campaigns, and then voted. And at a time I felt, why don't you give it a shot? And I said, in 2010, I just felt one of the candidates in Oyo State, I just had him on the radio, his manifesto, his plans, and what he was able to do. Unfortunately, he's late now, the former governor of Oyo State, Senator Abiola Ajimobi. I had his interview. And one day I just walked to his house. I've never met him. We were never in the same party. Then he was in AMPP. I've never joined any other party apart from the offshoot of the UPN. And I said, I listened to your radio program. You sound very brilliant. I said, but I've got 2 questions for you. And he said, what? And I met about 25 people in his compound. I said, I'm here to meet the man called Senator Ajimobi. And somebody said, why would you like to see him? I said, I listened to his radio interview. And I would just ask him for 2 things. What does he have for the youth and the women? And then 2 people were trying to attend to me. And he said, please, let me attend to Madam. The first thing he said, Madam, I must say that I respect your courage. I've never met you. He said, can you introduce yourself again? What did you say? You are Dr. I said, no. And then I had gone back to school, I had started, my GC and all that. I said, simply put, this is my name. He said, your courage is fantastic. It is almost contagious. Then he told me what his plans are. He said, but I have a big problem. I said, what's the problem, sir? He said, the party will not give me the ticket. I said, what's the reason? He said, because they will just not give me the ticket because they felt, number 1, I will not be controllable. Number 2, they think the way I speak, the way I do things will be difficult. I said, then what do you think about what they think about you? He said, well, if they don't push me to do evil, I will be controllable. If they control me in the path of doing the right thing, I think I will be a good person. I said, well, I've always been, I will see myself as a political child of the leader was Papa Lama Adeshino of blessed memory. I said, you know what, today I will see him and I will let him know that why don't they give you a trial? Honestly, I didn't know he saw me. This story I'm telling you, one of his men told me about, 5 years ago, when the man had a problem with him and he came to my house and said, I would love you to go and help me to reconcile. He wanted me to reconcile him and late Governor Jimobi. I said, why do you think I'm the right person to do it? He said, Madam, you remember one day in 2011, early 2011, you came to his house and you said from his house you will go to Alhaji Lamadeshino's house. Around 12 midnight, a bus was parking. We were almost highlighting from the bus, and the governor said, everybody, sit down. Look at that woman that came to my house earlier on. Look at somebody that has never, we've never seen, I don't know. And then going, because it still happens today. You see people, let me just give an example. We are in Lagos now. The governor of Lagos can never imagine people who canvass for him, who believes in him, who go about working on his behalf, who will never have handshake with him. That's how people do things. If I didn't go to his house, and earlier that day, I've been to about 11 people. I've asked people, I said, have you been listening to people who are promising to be the next governor of our state? Who among them do you think will be the best person? We should not be sycophants. We should not be afraid. I always say to people, I was not born a coward. I've never lived as one. And I'm definitely not going to die as one. I'm my father's daughter. And that is what every person in Nigeria should be. We should be the eyes and the mouth to our leaders. Let's tell them the truth. Yeah. And let's participate. Let's be involved. And I wanted to go to the House of Assembly.
Yes.
Getting
that
the
one was
twice. You know what? Campaigning, that's my passion. As an evangelist, I started the work and I had people. I know my people, they always, oh, Mama, yeah. But to get the ticket in car, at this point, let me also speak this to the consciousness of the people listening. You want to be whatever, whether from the councillor, the chairman, House of Assembly, to the rep, to the Senate. You want to be governor, you want to be president. It's a beautiful thing to do. The best in you should be the desire to serve. They didn't give you the ticket, go home, have a cup of tea, make amala and begiri the way my husband loves it as an Ibadan man. Just sleep. It's not do or die. But do you know that people will go to what I call wagbe ibonsile? Oh yeah, $1,000. Toba ti mo po ma fún mi níbò. Today, before we started this, I read a lot of things. People were giving money they didn't fulfill. It has always been. It has always been the story. When I was vying, that's what people do to other people.
I think one for me, what really just turned me off was, of course, the incident that I think it was a day to your primaries. A day to the primary election, and my dad was
kidnapped.
Dad was kidnapped, and this is House of Assembly, right?
Yes.
So for me, I was just like, okay, enough is enough. But I remember that night, the primary election was the following morning.
Yes.
And people, you already had people that liked you naturally and all of that, but then somebody called you in the morning, early in the morning. No. So we that night we didn't find my dad, right? Tell us the story. Let me just...
Actually, it was your dad who took the form, wanted to go to the House of Assembly. We were on vacation. And then I came back before him. The day I came was the day the submission would close. And then for women, it was free. So I said to the leaders, I said, oh, you can go. In fact, you are more, your husband is a very quiet person. You can really... So I took the form free, and I started the campaign. And a day to the primaries, all the delegates were waiting for me in a particular hotel. And it was for my husband to bring the food for us to eat. And then as he was just entering the compound, they just, with guns, put him in the boot, took him out. And then I just got the call. One of my sister-in-laws called and said, oh, the worst has happened. I said, what? He said, Big Daddy has been kidnapped. I said, who is Big Daddy? Because that's not a name. Because he said, I turned back. I called some of my people and said, oh, you guys, keep faith, stay put. But you know what? My husband has been kidnapped. I rushed to the police station, report. I was there till 11:30 midnight, radio, everybody that mattered. But God, I was just like, God, if you can just deliver me this once, that will be the end of the story. And good enough.
They dropped him.
They dropped him in Ogun State. The car, the Hilux, we can't see it till today. Brand new Hilux. But my husband came with beer, just the knicker, even the singlet, everything went.
They took everything from him.
They took everything, even his Bible. I mean, they said the Bible will be too heavy for him when he's going. So, Daddy, am I worried? Bible. I'm telling you, he prayed for them. They were kind. He said different voices, but one of them was saying, get ready, Baba, because Baba will be kini. And the boss said, no, Baba, it's a corporate, Dada. Am I shooting? If you want. And then he had to walk like, I don't know how many kilometers to the road. And then, till today, that is another thing I have to say, till today, because if I say I know how, and he too doesn't know how, an Okada man stopped at midnight.
Because nobody else stopped for him. They thought he was mad.
Yes. Because when you are just in your nika at midnight, and then the Okada man stopped, took him, and the man didn't wait to collect a dime. So as I was at the police station, still waiting, praying, telling people to pray along with me, then he just called. And then I told the police officer, he got somebody's phone, and he said, it's at the gate. They released him. So in the morning, the day of the primary, all this. And then I said,
somebody
that's the end.
Yeah.
And I said I wasn't going. And my husband said, I should just give him this as a gift. I should go. I said, no. I said, I think you will need me to stay with you to encourage you. He said, no. He's here, he's safe. This is me. This is not spirit. This is me. And then the people were calling, no, we are waiting for you today, not today. You just have to come. Forever I'm going to. You see, when I think about that day, yes, I wasn't privileged to be to be the candidate. But the person who got the ticket got the greatest vote from my ward. Twice I've experienced that. Even in 2011 and in 2014, in 2019, the candidate who received the ticket got the greatest vote from me till today. And they never won the election. Because democracy is about the people. It's about this is who we want, and people should always do that. And I've always corrected the people. No, this is the party. Don't get angry. Just let's support. But some people don't know. Because when you do that, and then your party will lose the election. Yeah, I've never. Somebody called and say, oh, Mama, láàárọ̀ yìí o, wọ́n ti sọ pé wọ́n ní fún yín o. They are not in the primary.
English for the people.
Yeah. When one of my men said, oh, we are not going to even give anything to anybody. Mommy, the man said, I can swear. I said, how sure are you? He said, Mommy, I'm sure.
They won't give you the ticket.
They have sworn an oath.
Overnight.
That's Mama. Even if we don't give her, if the party wins, they will always give her appointment. He said, for you to be sure. The man actually came to my house and got to my house before 5 a.m. And then
he said put guns on the floor.
And that the people have crossed the gun. I said, how do they do? He said, you will collect the money if you will be sure to vote for their candidate. He said, when the people,
the money and you
if I tell you the amount, I said, is that all they gave them? He said, is that all they gave them? He said, yes. And then they crossed the gun. He said, yes. They crossed the gun, they took the money. He said, but for you to believe, I will put my line on the speaker and then I will call the leader. His own leader, he called his leader, put him on the speaker. And the listener said, oh, where have you been? We've been looking for you. It's 5 a.m. We need to. He said, yes. We are moving around. He said, oh, Oga, and then the man mentioned, yes, and the man mentioned, oh, we will vote for so man. He said, oh, I just want you to be sure. I want you to assure me about the matter of Mama. He said, oh, Mama Mama will understand. Mama is a woman of God. Even if, even Mama will support us, even if we don't give him tickets. I was happy to hear that telephone conversation. But I still believed no. And we got to the primaries. The first person was 52. The second person was 49. And I made 39. So, with the guns and with everything. And I came into the race in 2 weeks. For me, I may not have the tickets. I may not go to the field. Those few people who stood with me, those 39 people are men of conscience that I will respect for the rest of my life. Yeah. There was no sufficient money in the treasury. That's my principle, that could buy their conscience. So when I read in the paper this morning, somebody said somebody collected 2 million, somebody collected $10,000, and they didn't vote. Yes, you can't force them against their conscience. If you really want to serve, if all you want to do is to give us a new life, give us education, give us better medical facility, give us good roads, give us potable water, give us security, take away that bad middle name that people call us as Nigerians. They say we are corrupt. Take that middle name. Let us be who God has called us to be, the giant of Africa. Go there and lead us. That's the leaders we want. We don't just want money bags. We want men of conscience. We want youth. We want women. Come on. And I see a nation like a person who has 2 eyes, but deliberately, I'm choosing my word now. Deliberately, you are using just one of your 2 eyes. How limited will your vision be? You've got 2 legs, and deliberately you say you just want to limp, you want to walk with 1 leg. How limited will you get to the destination? That is what we've been practicing in Nigeria. We need the women. We need to balance the equation. Allow women. There is a place for the woman at creation. When God made these men, God said, it is not good. If it is not good by God's standard, it will forever be not good if we do not add them. God says it is not good for man to be alone. The woman is the completeness. They complete the ideas. I mean, see, you and I, you are my daughter. You have seen how through hard work, with my tears, sometimes in tears, sometimes in joy, how we've been able to raise you and your kids, and I will be proud of all of you today looking back. In the same system, we have others are saying, they cut corners, but we've been able, by the grace of God, to say we lift up our heads high. Even in political career, I've raised my hand to say, my hands only will I raise to God in worship, not to steal. This is what we are talking about. Allow the women can be better leaders. Don't shortchange us. Don't limit us. Don't discriminate against women. If we did not get it right, it is because the youth, and I'm also advocating for the youth too. Nigerian youth they are awesome. They are vibrant. They are full of energy. They are intelligent. Please. They can go to the Senate. They can be president. Look at all the private sectors in Nigeria. I'm not going to mention names. You have 25, 23, 24-year-old being senior managers, bar 1, bar 2 managers, and they are thriving and they are moving on. Why can't they go to the House of Assemblies? Why can't they go to the Senate? Why can't they? The youth, please. Let's give them a chance. Let's release the baton for them. Let's go and, let's take the back seats. And then we give them wisdom. Let them come back and ask us, how do we do this? How do we do that? Yeah. So.
Anyway, we hope for some transformation in 2023.
Yes, hopefully. We
hope for transformation. I think the last key topic that I wanted to, we've talked a lot today. you, we've talked a lot more than we wanted to talk, but I think the last thing that I wanted to sort of touch on was, of course, you and Dad will be married for 32 years now, which I think is amazing. Um, what would you say has sustained you both so far? I mean, you gave examples of how you've been able to go through really challenging times together, but what would you say has sustained it so far, and what would be like your advice for
Challenging. I
younger
remember
couples?
one day you went to the school and you came back with your food because, I mean, growing up, it was always potato, nice food, balanced diet. And then when we got to the dark age, one day things were so down for us that I had to just make a little rice and put red oil, and I'm not lying. We didn't have money to even make sauce. It was about 3 months that was so hard. No job for daddy, no job for me. The building had collapsed. And then you return with your food. And then one morning, I've been thinking over it. I had a car, my husband had a car.
Why did I return with my food?
Because you couldn't open it. Because it will look, your school.
I was embarrassed.
You always went to school with your egg and your potato, boiled egg, your drink, calcium drink, everything balanced, the fruit, and then fruit cake, rice and red oil. And then I said, wow, voila. So one morning I just woke my husband. I said, please, you do me a favor. I need to catch up with somebody somewhere around Ojo. And then he took the car and then we went out. My mom always, took you to the shower, dressed you up. And then when we got to Challenge in Ibadan, I said, dear, please, can you just give me a second here? Stop. He didn't know what was going to happen. I alighted from the car and I started calling people. Mokola, Mokola, Ewole, Mokola. My husband was like, oh God. The man was always collapsing by the steering. I said, oh yeah, you. So I just sat close to him. Immediately, we just closed the door. I said, oh yeah, and then I collected the fears. When we got to Mokola, all the people I lighted, my husband didn't turn his neck to see me. He was just driving. I said, Kilode, she won't call seeing Lori Panchi Kabukabu. Challenge. And then when it was daybreak, and then the people were almost challenging us, I just went to one of them and said, Joe, just give us some few weeks. I said, look at these two people you are seeing. We just want to come out of stress. Allow us just few hours every day. You know what?
Because you're not in the association of the...
No, because we are not in the association. You know what? That morning, going home, got nice loaf of bread with sardine and egg. You guys didn't know. I'm not sure whether I've told you this story before.
Yeah, you have.
And then you had your egg, you had your bread, you had everything. And we did that for a few months. If I didn't tell you, who knew I did kabu? People will come to my house today, and then how I managed my marriage. I must confess, I didn't marry an angel. But from the day one of my marriage, I was committed to my desire to say, I'm going to give it everything that it will take to work. There were challenges, but that's the best man that has happened to me, because that's the gift that God has given me. And so when God gives a gift, that gift may not be 100% what you want that gift to be. And that you are not going to say you want to change him 100%. No. You just begin to compliment one another. In his own shortcomings. What will I do? I just want this thing to work. And then he's a fantastic man. He has his strength too. I said he's a complete gentleman. And you can see me. I can talk for 10 hours. That's my father's trait. I can really talk. And this is a man that when you say, everything is just okay with him. But he's got his shortcomings, and people will think this is the one that talks, that is the one that is the devil. But you know what? I love him like Kilode. It's love. It's love and it's commitment and a desire to say. And the things I will speak to people out there, the major issue for people today, I want to believe, is early marriage, money matter, arguments. Oh, money is not the end of everything. You just have to compliment. You don't want to show everybody that you are the better one than your spouse. Whatever God has given you, you have to compliment with one another. And when there is argument, learn to communicate. Learn to come and dialogue. Dialogue. Don't abstain from dialogue. Communication is the key to relationship. But when you have relationship, you are avoiding one another. You are just, you are not helping. It brings decay, it brings friction.
Yeah. I remember the first time you told us the story of Kabu Kabu taxi. I'm like, I mean, because like you say, a lot of people will see you now, come to the house now, and they'll be
they
like,
say, and everybody say it. They just think we are billionaires, we are this, we are that. But it's all about hard work and simplicity. Just make everything simple. The simpler anything in life, the better.
Yeah.
Just understanding one another. I just understand him for who he is. And I think that's what he does with me too. He respects me. You have to respect your spouse. I always, how I always tease him, the Ibadan man, this Layiku man, this, in the accent. But like I said, I just love him for who he is, and I'm glad for what God has given me. And I don't compare my husband with any other man, no way. There's no man that's like my husband. He's the best in life. And I'm contented with what God has made of him. And I think that's the same way he feels about me.
Yeah.
And we respect each other.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for those words. We will take it to heart. Okay,
I know
so
you are your daddy's girl. You are daddy's girl.
A lot of people
don't say that. I know that. I know you are daddy's girl.
I'm your girl. No, I'm your girl. But you know that, like, personality-wise, I'm more like you than I think I'm a balance of both of you. I don't think because I can be like you in that I talk, I have conversations and all of that.
And courage and pushing and then not giving up.
Yeah.
When you do that, say, that's my girl. Yeah, give it a shot. Give it a shot.
But then I can be very quiet. So that's my dad. Okay, so thank you so much. I think we are literally rounding up now. Just do you have any other thoughts, anything that you think we haven't touched on that you want to share?
Yeah, for me, it will just be one thing that should be my parting word to Nigerians listening to me is because I believe in trending issues. We need to speak about things trending. Yeah. And that is the need for us to tolerate one another. I always say in my mind, God didn't make a mistake by making Nigeria, what do we call it? What do we say the status of our religion? We have
multiple religions.
Multiple religion. God didn't make a mistake. God wants us to bring the beauty in the fact that, for example, an Ibadan person, how do you say you are married to an Ibadan person and then you look down on a Muslim? Or that you are married to an Egba person, you look down on the Christians? We need to hold each other's hand. Let's not allow politicians to bring this dividing line of religion. No. You are Igbo, Hausa. When we were in the north in Kaduna, how fantastic the Fulanis were in our house, how they embraced us. We lived together. The day we were returning, how the Fulanis were crying to say, wow, madam, we're going to miss you. That is the way God has created the world to be. But in politics today, everything we politicize. Let's love ourselves. Do unto others what you want others to do for you, and start from your home. Build love, build people, be kind to people, respect people's religion, be tolerant, tolerate other people's ideas. Don't just lord it over them. And then do not sell your conscience. Anyway, mine is not on sale. It's not for sale, and no one can buy it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you. So just some last signature questions. I think you've talked on. What would you say is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
The best piece of advice is from my mom, my first teacher. Be the daughter of who you are. That's always what she writes in most of the letters when I was in boarding house. Remember the daughter of who you are. So that's like, whose daughter am I? Nobody knows my parents. I'm a Balogun. So who knows Balogun? But now I remember. And now I know. And then you remember you when you were going to school. I say, you are like the Rechabites. When others are building high sky, just tell them that you are like the Rechabites. You cannot do what others are doing. But doesn't mean that you are not going to be better than them, because you are a mighty nation. And see what you've become.
I've not become anything, Mommy. Still on the
I beg you, make you know, deceive us. Don't deceive this your men. Oh. I beg, take care of them. Oh.
No, they're my people now. They're my people. If you could create one rule for everyone to follow, what would it be?
Rule, honestly, do unto others
as
you will have them do unto you. It's the greatest.
It's the greatest rule about that. Yeah. What's one thing you wish you knew earlier?
Oh, one thing I wish I knew earlier, I will combine two things together. To have known God early, I was a rebel. I took every gene of my father. I just wanted life the way I wanted it. I loved life. I loved to chop life. I was so lucky, as my father would say, because I loved life. I'm telling you the truth. But you know what? I didn't accept this beautiful faith of mine earlier in life. I wish I had done that. And then I wish I had, been more serious in my educational career. But today, I'm still a student. It's still a beautiful story. By the grace of God, 2023 November, by the grace of Almighty God, I shall be graduating.
Dr.
Mrs. Adekemi Opatunde.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mommy. I really appreciate you for sitting down with me for this episode. Thank
you for being my lovely daughter, for making me a proud mother, actually.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. This has been so amazing. Thanks for sharing all of those wonderful stories.
Pleasure.
And I think a lot of people will find it insightful. Yes. So as usual, I'm ending this episode with a quote. And I think the quote I wanted to end it with this episode is one by Confucius, which says that our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time that we fall. Which also sort of wraps up all of the things that you've shared. That we would always have times when we fall, but the greatest glory is in rising.
That's resonating to my life story. Absolutely. Thank you for that quote.
Thanks, Mom. Love you.
Love you like Kilode.